Good evening and welcome. Tonight we're going to be flipping through this book about the Maldives. We're going to look at all the pictures and read all of the little boxes. So let's dive right in. See this beautiful country. There's Supergirl. Putting flowers in her hair. So pretty. This is what I think of when I think of the Maldives. Just beautiful blue sky, big palm trees, and gorgeous crystal clear warm water. They're flying over it here. Some of the islands here. And here's the capital city, Mali. From some sources I've read, the most densely populated city in the world. Some beautiful beaches and beautiful water here. And look how pretty. Rainbow. And here is Mali International Airport. You can see Mali right there. This is an artificial island, it says, to deal with traffic on Mali. And another beautiful beach shot here. This is a flying fox, which is not a fox, it's a bat. But they're big, big, big bats. I think they're the biggest bat, actually. Let's read this box. The all-purpose coconut tree. The coconut palm is truly the tree of life in Maldives. The islanders have found a use for every part of the tree, from the fruit to the trunk and leaves. The coconut provides food with its milk and flesh. The milk is the kurumba, or young coconut. The milk of the kurumba, or young coconut, makes a refreshing drink. It is also used in cooking. The sweet and tender flesh goes into curries and cakes. The husk is turned into core and rope. The sap is tapped from the stalk at the crown of the palm and made into a drink. When boiled, it becomes a type of syrup. Coconut oil is extracted from the ripe coconuts. Coconut fronds are woven to make roofs, mats, and walls. The trunks are made into boats and are used to make houses and furniture. Anything left over is burned as fuel. Got some, I would say it's a war memorial. See in English, in Hindi, I assume. And they're in Devi, I believe. A depiction here of what the ancient kings probably looked like. Let's read about Tor Heyerdahl and the Maldivian mystery. Tor Heyerdahl, a well-known Norwegian explorer, became fascinated with Maldives after seeing pictures of a stone statue that was uncannily similar to the figures he had previously investigated on Easter Island in the Pacific Ocean. In the mid-1980s, the Maldivian government allowed him to conduct archaeological research on some ancient sites, and he unearthed many artifacts that shed light on the early settlement of the islands. His discoveries lend credence to the theory that Maldives was inhabited by a well-developed Hindu and Buddhist society whose history was never documented, or whose records were completely destroyed when the country adopted Islam. One of the most important archaeological finds was the buried temple complex on the island of Nilandu in the central atoll of Faf. Evidence suggests that there were 7 temples altogether, and that they were certainly Hindu because of the Hindu phallic sculptures recovered around the site. The complex is of impressive dimensions, and the temples were built of beautifully cut stones placed over a foundation of coral sand. They were shaped like pyramids. Heyerdahl also came across many limestone sculptures of Hindu gods and demons on several other islands. On the uninhabited island of Gan in Gafdal Atoll, Heyerdahl found evidence of Maldives' Buddhist past. In the middle of the jungle stands an impressive 3,000-year-old pyramid of enormous proportions. The explorer believes that it was a stepped pyramid with ceremonial ramps on 4 sides, much like the ancient pyramids of Mesopotamia and pre-Columbian America. Among the artifacts recovered were the foot of a sitting Buddha, a stone bowl, and 2 lions. The nearby island of Fuamulaku also contains several hawita, called Radine's Hill by the islanders. These mounds of stone are the remnants of Buddhist bell-shaped temples. Another important site is the sunken bath made from stones of different sizes. They fit so well that it is impossible to slide a knife blade between them. Despite all his discoveries, Heyerdahl was not able to solve the mystery of the Red-In people, and hence the title of the book he wrote about his investigations was named The Maldives Mystery. He suggested that they were sun worshippers, similar to the people of ancient Peru and Mexico. He based this theory on the fact that many mosques built on the remains of ancient temples faced the sun instead of Mecca, the holy Islamic land where the Prophet Muhammad was born. How interesting. I thought all mosques had to face Mecca, but these ancient ones built on old worship sites still face the sun. That's interesting. A map here. Can you read this? There's Delhi. I guess it's upside down. Like that's the coast of India, right? Queen Victoria once ruled over the Maldives. And here is a man for all islands. Born in Mali in 1937, Mamoun Abdul Qayyum's intelligence was apparent when he received a scholarship at the age of 10, becoming the youngest person to be sent overseas by the government. He went on to study in Sri Lanka and Egypt, where he obtained a master's degree in Islamic studies. He also studied law and philosophy. Before being elected president in 1978, Qayyum worked in various government departments and was Maldives' first permanent representative to the United Nations. He was a lecturer in Islamic law and philosophy in Nigeria from 1969 to 1971. In a policy statement in 1979, he committed himself to give greater freedom to the people and to follow democratic procedures. Qayyum was himself a victim of repression during the Nasser years when he was banished from Mali in 1973. During his 30 years in power, he brought political and economic stability to the islands through constitutional changes and sound economic policies. While turning the Maldives into a tourism powerhouse and bringing much needed foreign exchange into the country, he also led a repressive Muslim system that did not tolerate dissent. Despite promising greater freedoms to the population, he ruled as an autocrat, exiling anyone who did not agree with his policies and installing family and friends in the top rungs of authority. One of the achievements of Mamoun Abdul Qayyum was in the international arena, was to highlight the plight of small island states in the face of increased industrialization. He was one of the first world leaders to caution against global warming. Taking part in forums and international conferences, he tirelessly repeated his message that the industrialized world is accountable to small island states for the rise in sea levels, and that countries such as Maldives are in danger of disappearing. As he states in his biography, he is a man for all islands. If you want to hear me read this history chapter, I have it up for my channel members. You can click the join button or the link in the description box. If you don't see the join button, you can hear me read this history chapter all nice and soft. This is the aftermath of rioting. You can see this house was burned. And this lady's just voted. You can see the mark on her finger. She's very proud of it. Looks like a rally here, waving the flag. Let's read about it. National symbols. The Maldivian flag consists of a green rectangle surrounded by a red border. In the center is a white crescent with the tips facing away from the flag post. The red border symbolizes the blood of the Maldivians who fought for the freedom of their country. The green rectangle represents life, progress, and prosperity. The white crescent in the center of the flag denotes the Islamic faith of the nation. The national emblem consists of a coconut palm rising from a crescent and a star, and flanked by two national flags. Underneath is a scroll with the traditional title of the country written in Arabic. The coconut palm represents the livelihood of the country because of its many uses in daily life. The crescent and star represent Islam, while the two flags are symbols of authority. The words Adalat al-Mahaldibia, written on the scroll, mean the state of Maldives in Arabic. The emblem is usually reproduced on a light blue background to represent the importance of the ocean to Maldives. I wish there was a picture of that on here, but we can see the flag here. Getting some aid after the 2004 tsunami. Some police officers there. And let's read another box here. It says Maldives and the world. Maldives has diplomatic relations with more than 50 countries and is a member of numerous international organizations, including the United Nations and the British Commonwealth. Through former President Gayoom, the country has been very active in the non-aligned movement and strongly supports the demilitarization of the Indian Ocean. An instance of the Maldivian government's strong desire for peace was its refusal to rent the former British air base on Ghan to the Soviet Union for $1 million in 1977. For one of the least developed countries in the world, it was a strong demonstration of political willpower. As an Islamic state, Maldives is also very close to Arab nations and is a member of the Organization of the Islamic Conference. It is in the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, or SAARC, and the Alliance of Small Island States, or AOSIS, that Maldives has made its mark. Set up in 1985, the 7-member SAARC aims to boost trade among member countries and to offer a unified front in the face of foreign intervention. Maldives chaired the leaders' summit several times. Among the proposals put forward by the country were the need to pay more attention to the children of SAARC countries and the designation of 1992 as the SAARC Year of the Environment. Maldives also did much to diffuse tensions between member countries India and Pakistan whenever relations between the two neighbors hit a low. Being at the forefront of the battle against global warming, Maldives was instrumental in setting up AOSIS in 1992. It was after a conference in Male on the rise in sea levels that the organization came into being. A grouping of 42 small island states in Asia, the Pacific, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Caribbean Sea, the alliance concentrates on climatic change and other environmental issues. Maldives speaks on behalf of small island states in the international arena. This guy's got some big old fish here. They just caught a big old fish here. Here's a box about fish processing. Most of the fish are processed before being exported to Europe and Asia. The best fish are chilled and are flown immediately to Japan to be made into sashimi. The rest are frozen, canned, salted, or smoked. Fish for freezing and canning are taken to the processing plant on Felivaru in Laviani Atoll. Salting and smoking are carried out on a few uninhabited islands. The fish are gutted at night when the sun is down. They are then placed into containers of salt to be preserved. After they have absorbed the salt, they are laid out to dry in the sun. Maldives fish, which is very popular in the islands and in Sri Lanka, is a unique product of Maldives. After the fish has been gutted and filleted, it is boiled in salted water. The boiled fish is then smoked above a wood fire. To preserve it further, it is left to dry in the sun. Maldives fish keeps well for a very long period. Fisherman's Day on December 10th highlights the importance of fishing in the country. This festival celebrates the contribution of fishermen to the economy. I bet it's a big seafood festival. It sounds fun. Some tourists here enjoying their little patio here by their cabana. And they're getting some water here from this well. As this box says, Maldives doesn't have any natural water sources, so it all comes from the rain. The Maldivian currency. The rupiah, or RF, is the unit of money used in the Maldives. It is divided into 100 lari. Banknotes come in denominations of 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, and 500 rupiah. Very pretty and colorful, they feature objects that are typically Maldivian, such as coconuts or fishing boats. Coins in circulation are 1, 2, 5, 10, 25, and 50 lari, and 1 and 2 rupiah. The first 4 have dimpled edges. The rupiah became the national currency in 1981. Coins were first minted in the late 16th century, but they were shaped like hairpins and were not round. With an easy access to the sea, Maldives was a veritable mint when cowrie shells were used as the unit of currency by the countries in the Indian Ocean. The islanders devised a way of collecting them by placing palm fronds in the shallow waters. When the fronds were laden with cowries, they were pulled onto the beach, where the cowries were left to die in the sun. The shells were then buried in the sand so that the animals decomposed underground, leaving only the shiny shells. Let's read about the Dona, which, if you saw yesterday's video, I couldn't remember the names of these boats. It's the Dona. The traditional boat of Maldives is the caravel-styled Dona. Almost every family in the islands owns a small Dona. With its distinctive tall, curved prow, it is strong and built to last. Equipped with a diesel engine, the long and slender boat has a fabric roof, a wooden bench running down each side, and a sail as a backup. Why did I say backdrop? Sail as a backup. The helmsman uses his legs to steer the vessel. He sits or stands on the flat stern, holding the tiller with his foot and trolling a fishing line. Dona come in all sizes, and are used for fishing as well as for transportation. An odia is a large Dona used for cargo. The basic design of the Dona has hardly changed over the centuries. The best Dona are built in raw atoll by master craftsmen who pass on their skill from generation to generation. These builders command a lot of respect as well as high salaries. They do not need to draw building plans, and the construction can take a few months because the carpenter uses only his hands and a few tools. Dona are traditionally made of coconut wood in a thatched hut at the water's edge. The hull is constructed from planks of hardwood taken from the base of the tree and fitted together with wooden nails like a precise jigsaw puzzle. The whole boat is secured with copper nails and wooden pegs. Once completed, the Dona is painted all over with fish oil to preserve the wood and ease its launch into the water. It looks like something you'd see in Venice, huh? It's really beautiful. We've got bags of sand here. They're exporting the sand for all kinds of purposes. And there's a water plane here landing. That beautiful, beautiful water here. That gorgeous blue sky. But sadly, we can see a trash dump here as well. Also an issue when you're a tiny island nation in the middle of the ocean. Some vegetation is talking about how the roots are sticking out of the sand there. Let's read about that sinking feeling. The greatest threat to Maldives in the next few decades comes from global warming. As industrialized nations emit more noxious gases into the atmosphere, the Earth warms up in what is called the greenhouse effect. This leads polar ice caps to melt and sea levels to rise. Even a slight rise will be catastrophic for Maldives, since most of the islands are less than 7 feet or 2 meters in height. In addition, most islands are cup-shaped with a low center. Scientists predict that sea levels could rise by as much as 15 inches or 38 centimeters in the next few decades. The slightest storm could wash away some of the low islands. Some islands, such as Malé, are already sinking. Even if the islands do not actually sink, they have become more vulnerable to climatic conditions such as El Niño. More frequent storms have been observed in the Indian Ocean, and surging tides pose a definite threat to the islands. Optimists think that Maldives will not sink because the coral reefs surrounding the archipelago are constantly growing, so that the islands will rise as sea levels rise. However, the reefs are not growing as fast as the sea is rising, and it is feared that the whole archipelago will be completely submerged in the next century. Unfortunately for the Maldivians, there is nothing much that they can do on their own to stop global warming. It takes a concerted effort from the world's industrialized nations to change their habits and switch to more ecologically friendly methods of production. In the worst case scenario, the whole population will have to relocate elsewhere, and government officials are seriously considering the option of buying an island or piece of land in India, Sri Lanka, or even in Australia. It's very, very worrisome, isn't it? Some really bright coral here. And whale sharks. Maldives is home to the largest population of whale sharks. It's the world's biggest fish. Let's read about natural disasters. The most sensational natural disaster to hit the Maldivian archipelago was the December 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, one of the deadliest in history. Following a strong earthquake off the coast of Indonesia, many communities in several countries bordering the Indian Ocean were destroyed by waves 100 feet or 30 meters high. In Maldives, more than 100 people lost their lives, 21 islands were destroyed, and 11,000 people were made homeless. Only 9 islands were reported to have escaped any flooding. A large portion of Malé was flooded, and many inhabited islands were completely submerged at the peak of the tsunami. Scary. Some low-lying islands have literally disappeared. Despite the loss of life and damage to infrastructure, much more harm could have come to the islands if not for the deep inter-atoll channels that absorbed much of the strength of the wave. Malé's tetrapod wall also lessened the brunt of the tsunami, and mangrove-fringed islands were better protected. Although the damaged tourist resorts were repaired and opened for business within 1 year of the disaster, the effects are still being felt among the Maldivian population. In May 1998, an unusually strong El Niño led to the destruction of large areas of coral reef. For about 2 weeks, surface water temperatures rose about 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius, resulting in the loss of the algae that live within the coral polyps. These are the algae that give the coral its color and provide nourishment for it. More than 90% of animals with algae covering, including corals, giant clams, anemones, and soft corals, showed heavy bleaching to depths of 60 feet or 20 meters. When the coral dies, it becomes brittle and is broken up by the wave actions. Some of the coral that died may have been hundreds of years old, and it will take decades for the reefs to recover. Wonderful smiling face here. Out for a bike ride. Looks like a rainy day. Splashing around in the water, having fun. Let's read about the national character. One of the striking aspects of the Maldivian character is the lack of obvious emotion. Maldivians are a quiet people who are not given to expressive demonstrations. Children are taught to keep their thoughts and feelings to themselves, even within the family. Thus, they do not appear to be close to one another, especially to their fathers. When Maldivians meet their friends, they do not seem to be particularly happy. The Maldivian language has no words for hello and thank you, and there are very few expressions of concern. Maldivians take time to warm up to strangers, although they show the utmost courtesy at all times. There is a large element of stoic resignation in the Maldivian approach to life. Surrounded by the sea and sometimes living at the mercy of the elements, they take nothing for granted. Maldivians are a peaceful people who do not relish confrontation. Interesting. Look at these sweets here, so cute. Got a family out. He's gonna fly his kite. There's Grandpa there with his little sweets. Beautiful mosque dome here. Got some fishermen there hard at work. And she's cooking up something with this coconut here in this little oven. Here's a box here about marriage and divorce. Maldivians marry early, the legal age being 18. Most newly married couples are between 20 and 24 years old. Maldivians also marry often. There is no stigma attached to a woman who has been married before, and it is common for some men to have had 20 wives. Although some modern couples in Mali choose to get married in Western dress and throw a party for their guests, most people keep their weddings simple. The ceremony, celebrated by a local judge or ghazi, takes place in the groom's house or the island office. Present are the groom, his father, the bride's uncle, and 2 witnesses. Prior to the ceremony, the groom has received the consent of the bride and her father. The man must pay his wife a bride price, but the woman does not have to bring a dowry. After marriage, the couple usually lives with the wife's parents. According to Islam, a man may have up to 4 wives at a time if he can afford it, and if he treats them all equally, but a woman cannot be married to more than 1 man at a time. Most Maldivian men, however, cannot afford to keep more than 1 wife. The wealthier fishermen or traveling boatmen may have wives on several islands. Most people get married because sex outside marriage is illegal, and adultery is a serious crime. The family law introduced in 2001 made divorce much less easy than it used to be. Whereas once a man could divorce his wife simply by telling her that he was divorcing her, unilateral divorce is now illegal. Both parties have to go through the courts, as in most Western countries, and a divorce is only granted when all attempts at reconciliation have failed. The strict measures initially led to a decline in the number of divorces, but rates have been rising again since 2006, and the Maldives still has one of the highest divorce rates in the world. More alarming is the fact that men have reverted to the Islamic custom, considering divorce as their unalienable right. Although it is traditional for Maldivians to marry and divorce often, the government is urging the population not to be too hasty in dissolving their marriages. This is to prevent the disintegration of families and family values. There's a well here to catch the rainwater. And sweet littles here in their school uniforms. Working hard in school. And she's at the doctor getting her bones checked, I guess, in that x-ray. Oh, let's see what it says. Oh, she has a genetic disorder of the blood. Oh, dear. Out on the water here. And here's a beautiful face here. Lovely jewelry. I like her haircut. Usually when I cut my hair, I try to make it look like that. Here's a big, beautiful minaret here. The religion chapter. It says closed for prayer time in English and Devehi. Studying the Quran here. Here we can see some men praying. They got their shoes off, of course. This is the 5 pillars of Islam. We're not going to read it because it doesn't have to do with Maldives specifically. There's a prayer tower here. I guess that's announcing when it's time to pray. And this lady's all covered, dressed traditionally. The shoes left out outside the mosque because you can't wear your shoes inside. And here is the Friday mosque. Big fancy mosque. Some tombstones there. And look at this. It is a witch doctor of some kind doing a dance in this amazing costume. You can see all the palm fronds there. They made a mask. That's an amazing costume. I think this is a tourist guy working because look at all these shark teeth above him. He probably works at some kind of dive site. They're working hard in school. Reading the Quran using the stick to help keep their place. She's studying too. And a little home here, little hallway. See all her little siblings staring at her. Look at these smiles. How charming. Let's read this little thing. I won't read the whole thing. It just says, in Devehi, stress always falls on the first syllable of the word. The language does not make use of difficult sounds. Any English speaker can learn Devehi without having to learn new sounds. And it says how to pronounce all the vowels. In their little courtyard garden here. Reading the newspaper out on the boats. And look at these satellite dishes. I guess you have to have giant ones to reach probably India to get reception. Maybe Pakistan too. She's making a collar to a dress here. Isn't that beautiful? And this is on a gravestone, showing you how neatly carved it looks like sand, doesn't it? Some shirts you can buy for tourists. Working on some lacquerware. I think we're going to read about that in a minute. Here it is. Lacquerware from Tuladu. You can see the works right there. Isn't that beautiful? The best lacquerware comes from Tuladu in Ba Atoll. Sitting informally in the shade of the island trees, a few elderly craftsmen keep a skill that has been passed down for generations alive. In the village square, the posts holding up the platform where people meet are intricately covered in lacquer. Islanders love their lacquered plates and use them at religious and family festivals. The most impressive are large, round food boxes used to hold the family dinner on feast days. They have elaborately designed lids. You can see there. So pretty. It's a whole family sitting outside, and it points out that you can see the coral here they used to make their homes out of. Weaving very, very delicate stitches there. Can you see? Playing with your boat in the water. I know if I lived on an island like this, I would be in the water every single day doing just this. She was about to say it looks like a, what are those called? Those pipes that you smoke. What are those called? But apparently they have their own name in the Maldives called a guda guda. What are those called? Oh, it's driving me crazy. I can't think of it right now. They're about to scuba, jumping off. Playing some football out here. I love these pictures. And there's their national team. And playing some chess outside the cafe, I assume. And they're playing carom. I wonder what that is. Some kind of board game. Let's read about some traditional sports. Bashi is an ancient Maldivian game that is popular throughout the islands. Only girls play the sport. In Malé, young women enjoy a game of bashi in the parks in the early evening. Played on a kind of tennis court with a net separating the teams, the game consists of bashing a ball over the net while facing away from the opponents. The girls on the opposing team try to catch the ball with their hands. Each team consists of about 11 players. The game derives its name from the hand-woven bashi. The bashi is a kind of bat made from coconut palm leaves and traditionally used to hit the ball. Today, however, most girls use a tennis racket and ball. Although bashi is played everywhere, there is no tournament. I wonder why it's only girls. It sounds fun, though. Another ancient game is Thin Mugile. I'm trying to read Mugole. Thin Mugole, which has been played in the atolls for more than 400 years. This game is very similar to baseball. The objective is to make as many home runs as possible. The base consists of a circle made by rotating on one foot in the sand. The sun-hardened lower part of a coconut leaf stem serves as the bat, and the squarish balls made of coconut fronds. Mandi is a type of primitive lacrosse. The players use long sticks to hurl and catch a small stick without letting it drop on the ground. Young men also like to engage in baibala, a Maldivian form of tag wrestling. The player enters a ring and tries to touch the members of the opposing team. If he is not pulled out of the ring by an opponent, that person he has touched is eliminated. They're doing a dance here and singing, it looks like, too. And they're doing a beautiful dance as well. This beautiful bright red color. They're playing some drums here at this festival. Some more sweet little faces, although they look a little grumpy. Oh, you know why? Because it's Ramadan. They're probably hungry. I get this face too, and I haven't eaten for a while. Here's another traditional dance here with these cool sticks. And look at these masks out of palm fronds. So interesting, isn't that? So cool. And it's a birthday party. You can see like that one box before about the character kind of makes sense because nobody looks like they're having fun. But I bet they're having a blast, right? It's just traditional to have that face. You're cutting your birthday cake. There's a festival calendar. We'll skip that, but there's the pretty flags there. Lots of vegetables here. And lots of bananas. Got some betta leaves. How interesting. I don't think betta leaves grow there. They've got to import those. There's a lunch spread. You can see those lacquerware tops too. The water problem. Ironically, for a country surrounded by water, Maldives has severe water problems. As the islands are flat, the country has no natural reservoirs at ground level. Rainwater collects at around 6 feet or 2 meters underground, and Maldivians draw their fresh water from wells. Sometimes they have to line up for a long time with their pails, awaiting their turn. However, if more water is drawn than supplied by rains, sea water infiltrates the ground and mixes with the fresh water. The water table in Male was dangerously low when the government decided to build desalination plants. Today, Male residents get fresh water piped to their homes. A number of desalination plants built with the help of foreign aid produce enough water for the needs of the island. Resort islands also have their own small desalination plants. Through the process of reverse osmosis, seawater is distilled into pure drinking water. These plants consist of racks of metal cylinders, each containing an inner cylinder made of a polymer membrane. Seawater is pumped into the inner cylinder at high pressure, and the membrane allows the pure water to flow to the outer cylinder from where it is piped away. The Coca-Cola plant in North Male is the only one in the world to use seawater to manufacture its drink, after it's been desalinated, of course. How interesting. The other islands have devised their own ways to collect rainwater. Large reservoirs are built on the roofs of schools and mosques, and the islanders collect their fresh water from a tap. In the wake of the 2004 tsunami, many islands received their own desalination plants from international non-governmental organizations. New, lightweight, and small-sized plants are so portable that they can be fitted to a boat to provide fresh water for islanders in an emergency. We've got some wood chopped up here. Got the boats lined up there, ready to sell their fish. And this guy is selling watches and sunglasses. Little shop there. And look at this restaurant. How strange. But it definitely catches your eye and makes you want to eat there. What does it say? It's Indian? Is that what it says? Indigo cuisine. Okay, that's an Indian cuisine. And speaking of, we've got some pumpkin pudding and some roti. Yum yum. And here is a map of the islands of the Maldives. And here's where it's located. Next to India. And can you see here on the global map? Right there. There's the Maldives. And that is it for tonight. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. There's always more on the way. And I hope that you have a good